2012 NASCAR Cup Series champion is the man Brad Keselowski, and it's going to take me a minute to get used to saying Roush Fenway Keselowski. Is it just called RFK?
RFK is correct.
RFK, okay.
Yep.
I'm proud of you, man. It's a huge jump from being part of an absolute monster where you're a face of the monster, but you're not like negotiating all of the monster.
Sure.
So what has come that maybe you didn't expect from jumping into Cup Series ownership for the first time?
Oh, man. Well, I didn't expect to win so soon.
Congratulations, by the way.
We'll start there.
If you guys haven't seen, Brad won his dual qualifying race on Thursday night here at the Daytona International Speedway. Amazing run.
Thank you. And my teammate won the race right after it. So did not see that coming. Talk about highs and lows. I think, not that I'm super surprised, but maybe I'm surprised about how high the high has been and how low the lows have been. You know, we went to L.A. for that exhibition race at the Coliseum, and both cars missed the race. You know, that's the golf equivalent to missing the cut. And then a week later, we both win. So, you know, like the lows are very low and the highs are very high, and that's a little surprising to me.
Yeah, nobody wants to go home ever. That's a racer's worst nightmare, but you'd rather go home there than go home here.
Yeah, it's embarrassing, right? But, hey, we made up for it yesterday.
Sure did, brother.
Yeah, how much did you learn from that? I mean, just having the opportunity to run it through the gamut out of the gate and then tune things up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm learning so much. And it's more than just the ownership side. There's a lot for me to learn on the ownership side. Most of what I'm learning is on the competition side, what this company needs, what the people that work here need to be successful, how they operate, how they communicate, and how to navigate that, right? Because every group of people, you know, they function differently, right? If you travel abroad, you go to different countries, they drive on different sides of the roads, they got their own traditions and things. Well, race teams are kind of the same way. You all do the same things, just a little differently, and you just want to know how to navigate that. So it's like moving to a foreign country, you know, trying to learn the language, trying to learn the customs, and then I can integrate and do my thing.
You've driven for a couple superstars, in Rick Hendrick when you first started for a short, brief moment, and then, of course, Roger Penske the rest of your Cup Series career. What from those two leaders specifically can you bring to this race team? What lessons, what philosophies?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you were, you know, if you drew a square and you said put 4 owners on the square, you would put all 4 of them in different spots, or all 3 of those in different spots, and probably Dale Jr. in a 4th spot.
No doubt, that's right.
You know, Rick Hendrick, just this, you know, super buttoned-up guy, not in the technical weeds at all. You know, he believes in people and surrounding himself with great people and letting them do all the work and just supporting them. And then you have Jack Roush, who's kind of like the opposite end. You know, not really involved on the people side at all, loves all the technical aspects of it, and kind of brings this just grittiness that's hard to explain, the race car grittiness and know-how. And Roger Penske, super buttoned up, knows a little bit of the technical side, knows quite a bit of the people side, and he's probably in this spectrum. Then you got Dale Jr., who, you know, is more about the people side, not button-up side, but great with the partners and all those things. Knows a little on the technical side and the business side as well, so kind of well-rounded. So it's 4 completely different approaches. I mean, like you could not get more different. And each one of them has taught me something. You know, Dale Jr., I tell him, and I'll tell anybody this, Dale Jr. taught me how to have fun racing. The racing was never fun for me until I got to be around Dale Jr. You know, Marty, because when I raced with my family and all that stuff, it was like, you do this to eat, right? And then when I got to race with Dale Jr., I learned how you could have fun racing. And then I got to Rick Hendrick, and I got to see how to build this machine, how to keep it operating, because he's just such a great businessman. And then Roger Penske, who's all about polish and class, which is, you know, areas I had a lot to learn in. And now I'm with Jack, who's kind of bringing me up to more technical base. So I think all of them have brought something to me, and hopefully I've been able to take away from them.
What a pedigree.
I mean, you're just getting started, but do you see a space where ownership could be fun for you?
Oh, well, I'll tell you, it was a hell of a lot of fun last night. You know?
When they're spraying champagne, it's a hell of a lot of fun.
If we win again, it's going to be a lot of fun, because winning as a driver is always going to be amazing. But winning as a driver and an owner, it's like, I did that. You know what I mean? and it wasn't just me; it's the whole team. But I led that, and I'm really proud of that. And to see Chris Buescher win, that felt just as good as me winning. I'll be honest with you.
So you were talking about racing to eat with your family business. It must have been extra special to have your father's number on your car last night above the driver's door. You lost him back during Christmas time. First of all, sorry for your loss.
Appreciate it.
Absolute legend in the sport. What's it like for you now to be in victory lane and not be able to make that phone call or have that embrace?
So, my dad was a big Daytona guy. He loved Daytona. He came down here as a kid with his dad and told all the Daytona stories. First time I ever got to go to a race was with him, was Daytona for the ARCA race here in 1990. It was my 6th birthday. Got out of kindergarten to go watch my dad run the ARCA race.
That's an excused absence.
That's yeah. At that time it was. But we had a ton of fun, but he loved this track. And any success we had here would just make him so excited. And I know he would have really got a kick out of last night.
How did he react to what you've done in this sport? Because he scrapped, he clawed, he grinded, and his son's a champion at the top.
My dad was super proud, but he would never let me see it.
Yeah, I believe it.
He was, you know what I mean? That's a dad thing, I guess.
That's what dads
do.
Man.
Yeah. Like I would get a text that would be, "Good job." That was it. But then I'd hear from, some of my friends and family, like, "Your dad was so excited. You should have seen him during the race, and he was jumping up and down." You're like, well, damn, why didn't you film that?
Exactly. And why isn't he telling me that?
Yeah, oh, yeah. But that just wasn't my dad's style. It's a dad thing, I guess.
It is, for sure.
Yeah.
Where do you feel like the nickname Bad Brad ranks in all of NASCAR? It's my number one.
It's your number, really?
Yeah.
Bad Brad?
Yeah. I didn't even know what your last name was.
Really?
I'm just kidding.
Well, it's simplicity. It's
that's
a good
right.
thing. How it ranks in all of motorsports, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't necessarily feel like I'm a bad guy. I don't mind being a bad guy, and I don't care if people think that. I guess people tell you all the time that, or I've read this a few times, that you're the hero in your own story. In everybody's life, you're the hero in the story, right? And so I guess I don't think of myself as being the bad guy, but, if other people do, whatever.
I always looked at it, and I'm not joking, I always looked at it as like bad as good, kind of bad.
Oh.
Like bad Brad, like he's bad.
Yeah. Yeah, like bad to the bone.
Exactly.
Bad on the racetrack.
That's
well,
right.
Well, I appreciate the compliment, Wes. Hopefully we're bad on Sunday.
There you go.
I think we got a great shot. It's a big race for us. Got really strong cars. I've been this close to winning this race, and it's slipped away on me like 3 times, and it hurts. Some of those were in my control, some of them weren't. Last year was the closest I'd been, making the pass for the lead on the last lap and wrecking. That one really, really, really stung. So hopefully we can get it all to come together this year.
So many guys we're chatting with today have that same story. Truex, Kyle Busch. You guys are there. You guys are there every single year. And then invariably something thwarts it. It's so damn hard to get that title before your name.
Marty, you know about Indianapolis and Indy 500 and some of the folklore. Some of the old racers talk about the Indy 500 is nobody wins the Indy 500. The track chooses a winner. And what that really means is you put yourself in position, and these big races like this, and for whatever reason that is, all these weird things happen at the end of these races. It just continuously is the story where you get towards the end and you say, oh, so-and-so has dominated the race, and they don't win. Like Dale, blew the tire. What was that, like 1990?
1990. It was when you were here.
Yeah.
You might have gone home at that point.
I probably had already gone
Derek Cope wins the Daytona 500.
And you think of Dale, in all the years he was in position to win the 500. And Fluke hit a year, he hit a Seagull.
Yep.
It just all kinds of things happened. And no one more deserving than him to win this race, and it just would not happen. The track, in my eyes, it hadn't chosen. And it sounds, weird to say that. It sounds like some new world crap that, doesn't make sense. But, man, once you live it, like, it really does feel that way. Like, I don't know what to do differently. I've watched the film after the races, and that was the right move. And 99 times out of 100, that works. This was the one.
Oh, no, I forget. 09 your first year?
Yeah.
So 09, so this is 13 13th full season, or maybe
Yes.
14th full season.
It's be my 13th because I was part-time in 09.
You said something to me many moons ago about, at that time, you felt like Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Right before that door came down,
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
the sport shut the door
I
on
still
you.
feel that way.
Still feel that way. So it intrigues me because there's a couple guys who've come along since who weren't made of money, like Larson. Wasn't made of money people believed. Try to explain to people who might not be hardcore NASCAR people what it is to make it if you don't have a pocket full of money to bring to the garage.
It's incredibly difficult. It used to be if you were like a first-round draft pick, you could make it Cup. Now it's like you can't be a first-round draft pick. You got to be like the first pick to have enough talent to rise above, because you want to be one of 40 out here.
Yep.
One of 40. That's a real small number, right? And if you go back to the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and 90s of NASCAR, they would have turnover of about 4 or 5 drivers a year, mostly due to injury, sometimes even fatality. And so you had this natural churn in the sport. And what would inevitably happen is when there was a churn, the bottom would come up. And so if you were in a 20th place car and the 5th place car needed a driver, you got that ride. Not some rookie. The rookie would go into the 20th car. He'd go into the 30th place car. And he'd run for a year or two, and people would watch him and they go, all right, he can do this. And then he'd get that opportunity for the next churn, right? And that was how the sport worked really all the way from the early days till, let's say, the 2000s. And then in the 2000s, it became kind of that Jeff Gordon era of let's find somebody that's a first-round draft pick. Let's put him in a car and see what happens. And by the mid-2000s, like 2005, it even got to like second and third round draft pick, where you saw guys coming in the sport that you're like, maybe he'll make it, maybe he won't, but he's going to push somebody out who's probably a little better, but the teams are taking a chance. And as the pendulum swings, it swung right back the other way to where the door just basically closed. And if you weren't clearly the best guy out there, not in Cup at that moment, you don't get a ride. Like, it doesn't happen. Like, there's no churn, and the injury rates went down and all these other things happened, and so the barrier of entry just got astronomically high. And it moved from talent to capital, money.
That's it.
And that was a big shift for our sport, and it probably boxed out dozens of first-round picks that should be in the sport and art. I think of guys like Brian Clausen, tremendous race car driver, and God rest his soul. He tried to make it in Cup, could not get that level of ride, and never even really got to the Cup Series to prove himself. And then he went on and had a great career outside of it until, unfortunately he got killed in a race car accident. Not even at the Cup level, right? But that's a guy to me that's no doubt he would have made it in Cup in any other decade, right? And so it's a shame to see how that all played out. It'll swing back the other way, like all pendulums do. And I think we're going to see that happen over the next, 5 to 10 years. But for me, I feel so lucky that I got in, like, literally right as that door was closing. And, I've been very blessed.
All right.
Time for a couple more, real quick.
Talking movies, Brad, Talladega Nights or Days of Thunder?
Days of Thunder. Saw it when I was 5 years old. My dad took me to the movie theater. Tried to watch it with my daughter this winter. And then I realized my dad should have never taken me to that movie. There was a lot of non-PG moments.
That sugar packet scene.
In the sugar packet scene. And
when they pull over the hauler.
Yeah.
And they do a little checkup.
Yep, checkup. And, Harry Hogg or whoever, is it Harry Hogg?
Harry Hogg.
Yeah.
Hogg.
He drops a few words that I definitely don't want my daughter repeating. So, but are true in spirit, I can tell you.
No doubt.
If you live down here in that garage, you're going to see a lot of those same stories and hear a lot of those same words. But Days of Thunder, for sure.
Last thing, what should we expect out here Sunday?
We're going to see a lot of crashes. A lot of crashes, huge attrition rate. You're looking at historical trends over the last 5 years of 75% attrition. I would suspect similar on Sunday.
Appreciate your time, brother, so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Good to
hanging
see
out.
ya.
Brad Keselowski, 2012 NASCAR Cup Series champion.